Hey guys, Nick here with Picture This, and today I'm going to be voicing my first impressions and kind of feelings after using the camera for a couple weeks now. Expect a full review to be coming after I've had it for a little bit longer and I use it more and really get used to all the settings and everything else like that. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So first off, I'd like to say that I really like this flip LCD screen. It's super sweet. It's very angle. That's what Canon calls it. So it basically rotates in any way, shape, or form. I like that a lot. And this top LCD also, yeah, we'll go a little closer. Top LCD right up there. Super nice. It tells you like all your settings and everything else like that. So if I'm like looking in the live view like this or something and then look at the top, boom, all my settings are right there and I can adjust them without even having to look in the viewfinder like that. So onto the viewfinder, I guess. I really like it. It's got a lot of focusing points and there's different autofocus modes, and everything that you would basically want to change shows up in the viewfinder. You can have a grid for composing and all this other extra stuff that I wouldn't personally use but might be useful to you. And I also like all the ports and little flaps and things it has on the side here. It's got a mic jack, headphone jack, mini USB. It's got a mini HDMI, I think it's called. And it's got a port for a remote down at the bottom. So if you want to do time lapses or something like that, here, it's a tad bit deeper than the T2i grip, which I think is pretty nice and gives you a nice firm hold on the camera. Another thing I like is this little wheel in the back right there, the control wheel as I believe it's called. I think it's very nice to just like scroll through photos or change aperture or whatever setting I want just by turning a little wheel. One thing I don't like is how the D-pad is also like right on top of it. So I'll like activate the D-pad instead of spinning the wheel, or spin the wheel instead of touching the D-pad. So that is also pretty annoying. Another thing I did like is this button right here that is on top of the mode ring. So the mode dial will lock, and all you have to do is just press this little button and it'll rotate freely, which is pretty cool. It also has a lock for the dial as well, so it doesn't actually like lock it from moving. So yeah, it doesn't lock it from moving, but what it'll do is it'll actually lock me from moving it and then changing the settings. So if I unlock it, I can move it and it'll change the settings, but if I hit the lock, I won't be able to change the settings however much I want to move it. Another, I guess, downside or benefit, if you really like that, is the inbuilt flash. There we go, there's our flash, look at that. It feels pretty sturdy. The little arms right here are a little bit beefier than on the T2i, I believe. And I think it's nice to have, but I don't really do a lot of flash photography and things like that, so it's not super useful to me. It's got a pretty robust dial on the top. It doesn't feel as cheap, we'll say that. It doesn't feel as cheap, it doesn't feel kind of weak and not as strong. I love all these buttons on the top that allow you to adjust like your autofocus and your drive and your ISO and your metering and everything like that, just right on the top, and it displays on the LCD. As you probably know, it's got an EF mount. It's got a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor with the dual pixel AF and everything like that. That's one of the main reasons I got it, was because of that dual pixel autofocus and the pretty good video specs. Another thing this camera has is a 7 frames per second burst mode, and I believe you can shoot 25 raw files in a row on that high continuous mode, which is pretty sweet if I do say so myself. I just shoot on the regular continuous because I don't do a lot of sports or really fast action where I need that. But if you want to do action, you want to do something like that, Yes, extra frames will help you in that sense, but I feel like if you're skilled enough, you shouldn't need to just be holding down the shutter button, just going click, 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 click to try and freeze the action. If you know what's gonna happen, you can kind of like anticipate that. You can go boom and then take like a burst of like 3 or 4 and capture the action instead of just holding it down and pointing. I think that's basically it. Other than that, the button layout is quite similar, if I'll just flip it around, quite similar to the T2i in terms of button layout and everything like that. I think it's pretty good, comfortably, ergonomically as well, because all the buttons are in a similar spot and I can reach for them, and even with my eye to the viewfinder know where everything is, so that's pretty good. And I've been pretty impressed with the video specs as well. It's pretty clean and crisp most of the time, especially if you're shooting in that all-eye compression where you're getting the most data possible. And right now I'm just gonna roll a quick little video clip and then we'll wrap this up. So that video clip you just saw was all shot on the 80D. I used a 75 to 300 f4 to 5.6 vari aperture lens on this very tripod right here. I think it came out pretty good. I didn't do any post-processing for the transitions or anything like that. That was all in camera, whip panning and everything else like that. The only transition I did post was that little spin at the end, but other than that, yeah. So I think this wraps up my kind of first impressions and feelings about having this camera for a few weeks. Expect a full review coming, but I really want to talk about this camera that I'm shooting on, which is the NX300M, because I will sadly be saying goodbye to it at one point. So I want to do a review on that, want to do a review on my current tripod. And yeah, it's going to be a good couple of weeks in terms of videos. So, like I always say, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment below. I always read them, I always reply, and I really appreciate that. So, I'll see you guys in the next one.